I was quietly bleeding out onto a $40,000 Persian rug. And my mother was only concerned about the stain. The surgical site tore at exactly 7:14 p.m. It did not snap. It unzipped. A sharp, localized heat bloomed beneath the heavy bandages on my lower abdomen. I felt the precise, microscopic moment the internal suture failed under the strain. The warmth spread fast. It soaked through the sterile medical gauze. It breached the silk lining of my evening dress. It finally made contact with the wool fibers of the floor. It was a vintage Persian rug, imported directly from Tabriz. My mother had reminded the catering staff of its exact price tag 3 separate times before the party began. $40,000. I was pressed against the hardwood floorboards of her private study. Through the heavy oak doors, I could hear the muffled, rhythmic hum of her 60th birthday gala, the clinking of crystal champagne flutes, the low, steady bass line of the hired jazz quartet playing in the grand foyer. My heart rate climbed to 130 beats per minute. The edges of my vision began to blur, replaced by a slowly tightening ring of static black. Hypovolemic shock does not announce itself with panic. It creeps in through a mathematical drop in blood pressure. The room temperature suddenly plummeted to freezing. My body was actively pulling blood away from my extremities to protect my vital organs. I pressed my palm against my stomach. The blood was hot, thick, and slipping rapidly through my fingers. My mother opened the door. She stepped into the study, holding a half-empty glass of Prosecco. The ice cubes clicked sharply against the crystal as she froze. She looked at my hands. She looked at the expanding dark halo ruining the exact center of the $40,000 rug. Her jaw tightened. If you've ever given everything to someone who is secretly taking you apart, subscribe, because I'm about to show you exactly how to take your power back. The medical mandate had been absolute. My surgeon, Dr. Thorne, had stood at the foot of my hospital bed exactly 4 days prior. He held my chart in a blue plastic folder. He mandated exactly 4 weeks of absolute, unbroken bed rest. 4 weeks. He explained the exact tensile limits of the internal stitches holding my abdominal wall together. My mother had intercepted that discharge paperwork at the nurse's station. She filed it directly into the lobby trash can before we even reached her car. "We are a family that shows up," she had stated from the driver's seat. That was her favorite weaponized phrase. She used it whenever she needed me to absorb the impact of her logistical failures. Her 60th birthday gala had 150 confirmed guests. The professional event planner had quit 2 days ago due to my mother's relentless verbal abuse. The logistical vacuum fell entirely on me. I was expected to manage the caterers. I was expected to direct the valet. I was expected to organize the seating chart. 3 years ago, I forfeited a $5,000 honeymoon deposit. $5,000. It was a wire transfer to a small cabin in Vermont with a fading green front door. I lost that money to fly home and manage her unexpected charity auction when her assistant quit. I never saw the deposit again. Today, while I was hauling heavy silver chafing dishes across her dining room with fresh sutures, she was upstairs. She spent 3 unbroken hours receiving a $500 oxygen facial to prep for her grand entrance. She treated my physical recovery as an insubordinate act. She viewed my surgical wounds as a personal insult to her timeline. I lay on the rug, my breathing turning shallow. She did not drop her glass. She did not kneel to check my pulse. She walked over to me, her designer heels clicking rhythmically against the hardwood border of the room. She looked down at the expanding pool of red. "Get up." The words hung in the cold air of the study. "You're embarrassing yourself in front of the guests. Go wait in the car." She checked her gold Cartier watch. The catering staff was due to bring out the tiered cake in exactly 10 minutes. My active hemorrhaging was nothing more than a scheduling conflict. I reached blindly for my phone. It had skittered 3 feet away across the polished wood when I initially collapsed. My fingers brushed the cold metal casing. The screen illuminated, displaying the emergency dialer keypad. Her heel came down in a swift, sharp motion. She kicked the phone. It slid aggressively across the polished wood. It slammed into the heavy mahogany baseboard, sliding completely out of my reach. "Stop it," she hissed. Her voice was low, coated in pure annoyance. "I am not having an ambulance ruin the driveway aesthetic while the mayor is here." I stopped panicking. Pure survival instinct took over. The adrenaline froze in my veins. My pupils dilated. The burning pain in my abdomen vanished entirely, replaced by a hyper-focused, absolute clarity. I noticed the precise shade of red on her lips. I noticed the slight microscopic scuff on the toe of her left heel. If I died on this floor, she would order the caterers to step over my body to retrieve the spare champagne flutes. My left hand was empty. My right hand was pressed hard against my bleeding stomach. But my Apple Watch was securely fastened to my left wrist. Last week, I had built an iOS shortcut. It was a simple binary macro. I programmed it to bypass the lock screen entirely. When triggered, it would silently record uncompressed audio. It would then instantly upload the raw data packet to an encrypted offshore cloud drive. I had rented that server space under a shell email address. I originally built it to document my husband's late-night financial threats. I did not know I would need it for her. Before I show you the exact digital footprint that destroyed her entire social empire, make sure you hit subscribe. You do not want to miss how this ends. My thumb dragged across the small glass screen of the watch. I hit the lockdown record macro I had programmed last Tuesday. A microscopic red pixel illuminated in the top right corner of the watch face. The microphone was live. I let my left arm drop entirely. I went completely limp against the wool rug. I stared blankly at the ornate crown molding on the ceiling. I did not argue. I did not beg for my life. I gave her exactly what she demanded: complete, unquestioning compliance. I became a forensic sponge. She sighed. It was a heavy, theatrical sound of pure inconvenience. "I have to go smile for 150 people because you couldn't handle a simple dinner," she muttered. She turned her back to me. She walked to the heavy oak doors. She opened them and stepped back out into the bright lights of the party. The door clicked shut, the brass lock engaged. She left me in the dark. 3 minutes passed. The pool of blood under my back expanded by another 2 inches. My peripheral vision was entirely gone. I was breathing rapidly, but my lungs felt empty. Peripheral vasoconstriction was setting in. My fingers and toes went completely numb. The heavy bass of the jazz band vibrated through the floorboards, matching the erratic, thready rhythm of my failing heart. Minute 4. I calculated the volume of blood a human body can lose before unconsciousness. Class 3 hemorrhage begins at 1,500 milliliters. I was nearing the threshold. Minute 7. The silence inside the study was deafening compared to the laughter echoing in the hallway. Minute 9. I focused on the blinking red pixel on my wrist. It was the only light source that mattered. It was actively transmitting my murder to a server in Switzerland. Minute 12. The door handle rattled. The heavy oak door swung open, casting a sharp, blinding rectangle of golden party light across the ruined rug. It was not my mother. My brother's friend Eric stood in the doorway. He was holding 2 heavy winter coats. Eric was a third-year resident at Johns Hopkins Hospital. He was a trauma specialist. He took 1 step into the room. He did not look at my face. His eyes locked instantly onto the dark, saturated wool beneath me. The social protocol vanished from his posture in a fraction of a second. The doctor took over. He dropped the coats. He was on his knees beside me in less than 2 seconds. His fingers pressed sharply into the carotid artery on my neck. "Pulse is thready. Skin is diaphoretic," he stated aloud. He was speaking to himself, engaging a strict clinical protocol. He did not ask me what happened. He did not ask how I felt. He pulled out his phone and dialed 911 instantly. "I need an ALS unit at 44 Westbourne Drive." His voice was a flat, unyielding line. "Active hemorrhage. Post-op abdominal tear. Patient is entering hypovolemic shock. ETA needs to be under 5 minutes. The oak doors swung open wider. My mother stood in the frame. The jazz music swelled behind her, loud and cheerful. She saw Eric on the floor. Her social mask slammed into place, perfect and seamless. "Oh, Eric," she laughed. It was a high, thin, nervous sound. "There's no need for that. She's just having one of her little panic attacks." She stepped further into the room. "She gets so dramatic at my events. Just help her up." Eric did not look up from my neck. He maintained firm pressure on my pulse. "She is bleeding out, Sarah," he said. His voice was completely devoid of emotion. My left hand twitched. I raised my wrist exactly 3 inches off the floor. I tapped the small glass screen twice. The macro ended the recording. It instantly triggered playback at maximum volume through the watch's internal speaker. The audio cut through the study. "Get up." My mother's recorded voice was crisp and undeniable. "You're embarrassing yourself in front of the guests. Go wait in the car." The sound of her kicking my phone echoed sharply off the walls. "I am not having an ambulance ruin the driveway aesthetic while the mayor is here." Eric's head snapped up. He stared directly at my mother. The blood drained from her face. The champagne glass slipped from her fingers. It shattered against the hardwood floor. The sharp shards of crystal scattered across the expensive wood, glittering in the hall light. She tried to open her mouth to speak. No sound came out. The psychological trap was fully sprung. She could not gaslight a trauma surgeon. She could not rewrite a raw, time-stamped audio file. The distant wail of sirens began to bleed through the heavy glass windows of the study. The EMTs breached the front door 2 minutes later. They bypassed the mayor. They bypassed the caterers. They rushed the study with a stretcher and a trauma kit. They inserted a large-bore IV into my arm before I even left the rug. 48 hours later, the police opened a formal investigation. The charge was criminal negligence and reckless endangerment. The district attorney based the entire filing on Eric's medical statement and the uncompressed audio file I provided from the cloud server. 3 weeks later, the social fallout was absolute. Her prestigious charity board convened an emergency meeting. They asked for her immediate, permanent resignation. Her gala attendees, including the mayor, blocked her phone number. I survived the secondary surgery. I am fully healed. I sit in my quiet, sunlit apartment. I sip hot black coffee. I take slow, painless, completely unobstructed breaths. She traded my life to protect a party aesthetic. Now, she has absolutely nothing. In the next video, a husband hides offshore accounts in his daughter's college fund. He assumed his wife couldn't do the math. He was wrong. If you found this satisfying, subscribe. There are a lot of predators out there, and they all leave a digital footprint. Silence, hard cut.